Hello and welcome to the Emerald Radiance. We're actually boarded now, which was the most simple boarding process I think we've ever had. It was just like, hi. So next door to the Scenic Azure, which we will be spending 4 nights on in another 4 nights. So we've actually got both ships together at the same time, which is absolutely fabulous. We've had a welcome aboard lunch, which is laid out in there. I've got some clips, so you can see that for yourself as I talk over it. Just all so fabulous so far. Glass of wine and a beer. And we are happy chappies because the weather, despite them saying it was going to be cloudy and rainy all week, it's actually started quite well. So I think we can thank our lucky stars.
Oh, there's the Taylor's Port Place. Look, I can see it over there.
And there's the port place. I don't know where she's looking.
We can take this ride wherever it goes. As long as you're with me, I feel at home. Can you tell me why? 'Cause I wanna know. As long as you're with me, I feel at home. Yeah.
The Douro River in Portugal cuts straight through the country from the sea all the way into Spain. We shall be taking you all the way to the Spanish border in this vlog and showing you some of the delights of this region. We start in Porto, where we board the Emerald Radiance. Then we leave early for a full day's cruising along the Douro with our first stop at Pinhao. Then we continue to our most easterly destination, Vega de Terron on the Spanish border.
Early in the morning, before the sun appears, before the world has even stirred, let's get out of here.
The first thing you should do on your first day of cruising is to get up early to watch the sail away from Porto. Well, I was the only one that did, but if you don't, you'll miss an interesting and varied perspective of Porto at dawn, which is definitely worth the effort. And as you can see here, these magical moments are what river cruising is all about. It's also invaluable if you're a big fan of bridges, of which over the course of this trip, there are plenty to keep you invigorated. After all that excitement, it was time for breakfast, and the Emerald Radiance is not short of options, and given the choice, it's best to take your time because, like us, you'll still be seated at your table when the first surprise of the voyage creeps up on you, and you're thrown into darkness. Yes, you'll arrive at your first dam, and the first of 5 locks. If you haven't experienced a deep river lock like us, it took us rather by surprise. These giant concrete structures are like something from a dystopian sci-fi movie. There were 3 in total before we reached Pinhao. In between, though, you're treated to some of the most beautiful scenery along the river. The hills are covered in vineyards and olive groves, and you'll have fun spotting the quintas, which is the Portuguese term for the vineyard estate houses, more commonly known as chateaux in France. And before long, though, we approached the colossal Carrapatelo Dam. Built in the 1960s, it was the first dam on the Douro River and is primarily used to generate hydroelectric power. The rise in water level in the lock is around 35 metres, which makes it the deepest lock in Europe and one of the deepest in the world. Given those facts, I couldn't resist giving this experience a little bit of drama. Earlier I mentioned bridges, so if you're a pontist, no, that's not someone who likes the Pope. It's someone who's very interested in bridges. Yes, it's actually a thing. Then, as a pontist, the Douro is definitely a river you need to sail along. There are so many varied constructions and heights, you'll not know what to expect next, which tends to make you want to stay on the sun deck for the entire cruise. Question: ever wondered why the top decks of many river ships are collapsible? Well, here's your answer. I guess this man is not a practicing pontist, rather than a crew member measuring the current height of the river. I could be wrong, but that looks like a measuring stick, doesn't it? At last we arrived in Pinhao, and following the captain's welcome reception, we enjoyed a delicious 6-course welcome gala dinner. But the evening was not over yet, with a full programme of entertainment planned in the Horizon Lounge, starting with Name That Tune, followed by a bit of raucous karaoke, kicked off by Miguel, the courageous barman, singing Delilah. My personal favourite was this rendition of Copacabana by some of the rather tuneful guests. Ships are forbidden to sail on the Douro at night, so all of your stops are overnight stops. Pinhao was a delightful little town to walk around before we jumped on a coach for our first excursion to a local port wine estate. A half-hour drive took us to the Quinta do Tejo vineyard. Helen decided to do the hour-long hike around these hilly vineyards with the activities manager, while I, suffering from a recent health development that meant I couldn't walk far, went on a tour around the estate to see the threshing bins and learn about port production. Grape crushing is still done by hand here, or should I say feet. Yep, you heard me correctly. These threshing bins are for crushing grapes the traditional way. Unfortunately, we didn't get the chance to do this ourselves, and knowing the state of my own feet, I'd have probably been denied on health and safety grounds anyway. The talk was fascinating, and where they stored the wine in these old buildings made from ancient gnarled wooden beams and rugged stone, they couldn't have been more different to the vineyards we visited in France on our Douro River cruise, and I've got to be honest, I loved the traditional feel to this whole estate much more. Afterwards, the hiking group rejoined us for the port wine tasting hosted by the vineyard owner. It was a fascinating, insightful and delicious excursion. Back on board the ship, we had built an appetite for an extremely welcome lunch in Reflections before setting sail, heading further inland towards the Spanish border. Sailing down the Douro is never boring, with the scenery changing from the rolling vineyard-striped hills flanking the wider parts of the river to the steeper rocky outcrops causing tricky navigation on the narrower parts of the river. We even caught a glimpse of the harvest season underway. Grapes have to be picked almost completely by hand on the Douro because most of the vines are on steep hillsides that are impossible to reach with machinery. The sailing from Pinache to the Spanish border took about 7 hours, and this is the real beauty of river cruising, enjoying the view, the relaxation, and in some cases, the people who make this river their own. We had to navigate 2 further locks and some very narrow, windy sections of river. There's no wonder they don't allow cruising at night. This river looks rather too treacherous. The danger is not just from the craggy, narrow riverbanks, though. This is the lowest bridge of the whole river. This really is where the bridge crew earn their keep. Judge the height of the river wrong by just a fraction, and it's bye-bye sun deck. It's much safer being in your stateroom, of course, and what a better way to enjoy a quiet cup of tea and a siesta than admiring the river from your own private balcony. Emerald Radiance has these brilliant balcony windows that really bring the Douro into your room. Just don't forget to close it before entering a lock, because it all gets a bit weird. After the usual superb dinner, the crew set up an outdoor cinema on the top deck for us to enjoy an open-air viewing of The Greatest Showman, complete with popcorn and drinks. Our last full day on the Radiance, and we were up early for the drive to the Spanish city of Salamanca. It's a 2-hour coach ride through some beautiful scenery, but fear not, there's a rest stop halfway through the journey, which sells drinks and, surprise, surprise, ham, which this region is world famous for. Upon arrival into Salamanca, we started our guided excursion in the local market, sampling some of the local cheese and, yes, some more ham. After a whistle-stop tour of the market, we headed to the main square, the Plaza Mayor, said to be the most beautiful in Spain, home to the town hall and the most magnificent sandstone buildings housing shops, offices, restaurants and official buildings. The city is known as the Golden City, as the predominantly sandstone buildings slowly oxidise over time and turn a lovely golden colour. Apparently, storks love Salamanca too, and their nests are a bit of a problem here. They tend to build them on the top of church towers and things, and they weigh about 100 kilograms, so they are a bit of a nuisance to the fragile structures, and quite dangerous too. After a quick look around and avoiding tall towers with nests, we headed down the main street towards the historic university buildings, home to a bustling 40,000 strong student population from all around the world. I hadn't realised the historical significance of Salamanca as a seat of learning, but it's home to the 3rd oldest university in the world, dating back to 1218. The university is not just famous for its academic history. Somewhere here on the carved stonework above the Puerta del Salamanca facade lives the Salamanca frog. Spot it and apparently you'll have good luck in the following year, especially in exams. Even when you know what you're looking for, it can take some time. If you can spot the frog, and I'm giving no clues here, but I have shown it, please leave a comment as to where you think it is. Regardless, some of the other carvings on this facade are quite frankly disturbing. There are also two cathedrals, one old and one new. I'd prefer to call them ancient and slightly less ancient. Or actually, should that be rather creepy and even more creepy? Have you noticed the amount of scary looking babies carved into this cathedral? There's hundreds of them, and they are terrifying. After some free time to get some lunch, we met up with our fellow passengers for a surprise short open-air musical performance from the Tuna Medicina Salamanca, a group of 8 medicine students from the university who, dressed in traditional 14th century clothing, sang a selection of Spanish, Cuban and Mexican songs, with one of the talented group occasionally breaking out into a traditional dance. Well, I think it was a traditional dance, but maybe it was just a student doing what students do, having a bit of a laugh. Emerald Radiance was a beautiful modern ship with contemporary looks, great food and superb crew. We've done a full ship tour video of Emerald Radiance, so I'll leave a link at the end so you can have a good look around. The second leg of our Douro cruise was to be on board Emerald's sister company's ship, Scenic Azure. How will it compare? Click here to continue our Douro journey as we explore more of this incredible region.